What is going on, good people? YouTube. It is me, Chavez. I am back. We are back together for another day, another Player Prop Talk live stream here on the channel. As always, I hope everyone is having a great morning. Hope this finds you doing well and in good spirits. Bit of a time miscommunication this morning as I needed to take my dog to the dog hospital. She broke a tooth being a dog, so I had to do a vet visit, and thought I changed the times on all the platforms. Thought I changed the times on my Twitter feed. I thought I changed the time on YouTube and StreamYard, and no, all those did not save. So there's a lot of confusion this morning. I so sorry I left you guys hanging in the chat, but I'm here now. So if you're able to jump on the stream now, let's make the most of this day. But my apologies for the time miscommunication. 10 a.m. was the new start time today. And here we are, 10 a.m. Central Time. So yeah, a little bit of a later start, but we'll get to business, and we'll keep things moving. Hashtag blessed. As you all know, over 10% of the U.S. population dies in their sleep. I don't know how they die. They just do. So you're on the other side of that in 10%, and then you're off to a good start today. Value your day accordingly. Make the most of it. And we move on to some injury news in the NBA. Well, actually, no. I tell you what. I want to make sure there are a few people in the chat, because I know I left a lot of you hanging. I don't know who's left in the chat, but before we do turds of the day, I think we need a few people in the chat to contribute to that. So I see that Big Icy and Damien and ATM were in the chat. JR, Carrie were in the chat earlier this morning. Paris Black, good morning to you. Yeah. I tell you what, let's just go injury news first, and then we'll go back to turds of the day if we get a few people in the chat. But I have a couple turds of the day that I can share with you all. But injury news. So injury news, I don't like seeing all these Celtics on the injury report, because the matchup is not necessary for all of them to be active today. So I fully anticipate one, maybe two starters sitting today. But Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Horford, Kristaps Porzingis all on the injury report. You see Bane is doubtful, Vince Williams is doubtful, and Jeremy Grant. And then already ruled out Mitchell, Drew Holiday is still out for the Celtics. Quickly remains out Fontecchio, Stewart, Umude, Luke Kennard, and Duncan Robinson. So a lot of key role players are out today, and then you got all those names that are questionable, some notable starters. So keep your eyes peeled. Keep your eyes peeled for injury news updates. What is going on? DF, Big Icy, Carrie, La Liga. What's going on? Good morning. All right. Let's talk about some turds. We got Josh Hart. That was one of my turds for sure. Took the over on his fantasy score. Boy, he 36 minutes. He didn't even get you 10 PRA last night. Lauri Markkanen and DeJounte Murray. I took the over on Markkanen's fantasy points, and he got it by 0.1. So crazy how close those lines are. And I took the under on DeJounte Murray's assist, and he went over that. So yeah, he didn't do what I needed him to do yesterday. I think Josh Hart is a unanimous turd. I think Josh Hart broke everybody's heart yesterday. That dude, we've seen this from him before. I feel like when everybody's on him and those lines get inflated, like he doesn't miss the line by one or two. He completely disappears for the game. Like he wouldn't have hit his first half. If his full game line was his first half line, he wouldn't have hit that. So it's just weird how crazy that drop off is from a 48-minute triple double. Obviously, you don't expect that every game, but come on, bro. Like, give me 25 PRA at least. Yeah, that was bad. Josh Hart was unanimous turd. Brandon Ingram getting hurt yesterday was, I mean, to no fault of his own. I'm sure he didn't want to get hurt, but not getting a DNP on that really sucked. So he did not get the rebound prop that I wanted him to get. I had him at 5. He hooked it at 4 because he got hurt. So that kind of sucked. I would consider him a turd, but not for the usual reasons. It just sucked that he got hurt. So we got Lauri Markkanen, DeJounte, Josh Hart. I'm going to throw. How about DeRozan? Did anybody have DeRozan yesterday getting ejected because he got into a fight with Dylan Brooks? I feel like Dylan Brooks did his job. That was his job, was just to take DeRozan out the game. I don't know if anybody played him, but that sucked because you don't get DNPs for ejections. You don't get, reboots for that kind of stuff. So that definitely hurt your slips if you had him. Who else? How about the Kings as a whole? The Sacramento Kings as a whole, just losing to the Wizards. That's turd nominee right there. You don't lose to the Wizards. You shouldn't lose to the Wizards. Lot of turds yesterday. All right. Let's move on. Let's get away from turds. Let's get away from dying in your sleep. Let's get away from NBA injuries. We just talked about injuries. There's the injury report for today. I also posted this in the Discord. So take a look at that. Make sure you're up to speed on all that. Let's talk about some plays for today. I have a couple of plays that I want to share with you. I hope they're still on the board. I really hope they're still on the board. One of them I posted in the Discord as a play of the day in our play of the day channel, and the other one was a new addition, but we'll look at both of them on props.cash. So let's get into the 2 plays that I like for today that I will be playing and that I've already put in slips. So play number 1, we're going to the NHL. Wyatt Johnson over 2.5 shots on goal. That is a screenshot of his last 10 games. You see his odds right there at the top right corner of that screenshot. We'll break this down a little further in the stream, but just like high level view, this is in a good position to go over that 2.5 shots on goal prop. And then my second play is a PrizePicks play. I like the over D'Angelo Russell first half, 13.5 PRA. This is going to get bumped to 14 if it hasn't already. We'll talk about it though. At 14, it's still not a bad play, but I'll share with you what was standing out to me. And I did play this already, and I did share it in the Discord really early this morning before I took my dog to the dog hospital. So those are my 2 plays for today. D'Angelo Russell over first half PRA, and then Wyatt Johnson over 2.5 shots on goal. Wyatt Johnson is an underdog play. D'Angelo Russell is a PrizePicks play. Cheat sheet has already been shared in the Discord, so if you're looking for a pair for one of these 2, you can find some options there. Or you could just stick around on the live stream where we will go over nearly 30 player props, I'm sure, by the time this whole stream is over. And you can do what you want with that information. But we're going to move on and talk about player props today. Your player props, questions, and answers. Let's get it going. As always, all player prop research is brought to you by props.cash. That is what I use. There's my promo code on the screen. Feel free to use it. Takes 25% off your first month on props.cash. If you've never seen props.cash before, stick around. We'll use it in real time. You'll get to see it in live action. So let's get this going. Let's head over to PrizePicks. Let's pull up the dashboard and let's start breaking some plays down for this Friday. We got our protected play option as well. Make sure you exercise that. Make sure you opt into the protected play once it's released in the promo section and it is already there. So opt in, and the next flex play you build out, you'll have the option to protect it. Got to click the box. All right. I got a few players pulled up on the screen that I was looking at before the stream started. Obviously, I have not used my Caitlin Clark square yet. Well, I just did before the stream started, but prior to that, no. So Curry over points, Paul George under points. Put those in a 3-pick with Caitlin, 3-pick power. Gonna shoot for a 5x on this one. We can break those two plays down. I don't think Caitlin Clark needs to be broken down, but we can break down Curry, we can break down George, we can break down any player props that you want. La Liga says Yaxel Lindenborg rebounds and assists. Oh, this is NCAA. That sounds like a hockey name to me. I was like, what the hell is RA in hockey? Okay. Rebounds and assists at 14, 11 rebounds, regular line. And then Demon points at 16. Zach Edey points over 27. All right, so let's look at some college basketball. So a little tournament going on in college basketball called March Madness. I'm sure you've heard of it. You don't need to be a college basketball pro to play these props. If you have the research intact, you can play these plays and you can look for some value. So we're going to take a look at this Yaxel Lindenborg rebounds and assists. This one is set to 14, and we are getting it at 13. So if you liked it at 14, then you probably like it at 13, unless it's getting bumped down and we don't know why. And then we have Zach Edey points over 27. I gotta be honest with you, I've never heard of these players' names. You don't have to be their best friend to play their player prop. I promise you that. So you like his points over 27? How come they're so low on PrizePicks? Where are you playing these, La Liga? Divine, what's going on? Good morning to you. 80 rebounds, Chet same, Steph points, LeBron assists. What do you got for Steph? I got Steph's points up there already. That's perfect. Okay, cool. We'll talk about Steph's points. Let's take Paul George out of there for now. And then let's look at some rebound props in the NBA. You like AD's rebounds and Chet Holmgren's rebounds? I don't know what I don't even know what Chet's rebounds are. They were at 9 last game, 9.5. Davis's rebounds are at 13.5. Oh, you played them yesterday, but they're lower today, man. The rebounds and assists we got there at 13. You have it for 14. And then the Eddie points or Edey points is at 27. You have it for, and it's at 25 right now. So they're bumping down, it looks like, on PrizePicks. Where are we at? 4 players. All right, let's see what Chet Holmgren's rebound prop is set to. I thought it was 12. I was like, whoa, take the under on that shit. All right, where is it? Does he have a rebound prop? Okay. All right, so we got 5 player props on the board. We got Curry's points. We got 2 NCAA plays, Davis and Holmgren. So see, all I would do is click that box and submit, but we're not going to click that for now. Who'd I miss? Curry, Lindenborg, Edey, Davis, and Chet Holmgren. All right, let's do it. First round of player props. Let's head over to props.cash and let's start breaking these down. I'd say what? Let's start with the college basketball player props. Let's knock those out. And then we'll move into the NBA. Did I spell his name right? Lende. That dude, why is he not on the... Well. What team does this dude play for? How come I can't find him on University of Alabama, Birmingham? That's not like some Division 12 school. That's a real school. Why isn't that not showing up? UAB? How about Oakland upsetting Kentucky yesterday? I didn't know if that was an upset, considered an upset or not, because they had a really good record coming in. But I mean, Kentucky is a nationally recognized program, so yeah, I guess it is an upset. There it is. For some reason, that guy is not on here. Do I got to refresh? Might have to refresh it. Knuckles, what is going on? I was late. You're good. I was late. My time changed for the live stream, and apparently the settings did not save from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., which is what I needed it to be at today, 10 a.m. start time. So there's a lot of confusion this morning. So you're fine. You're good. All right, this Yaxel person is not popping up, and I don't know why. And there's Zach Edey. All right, let's look at his numbers at 25.5. You're getting it at 25 on PrizePicks. It's been 25 for a bit now. It looks like it opened up at 24.5, but it's been bumped up to 25, not 25.5. So at 25, he has gone over or pushed in 3, 6, 7 games. Out of his last 10 games, he's gone over or pushed in 80% of those. And then his last 5 look real good. Projection today is only 22.5. But at 25.5, his odds are in favor of the under. But at 25 on the dot, they're going to be shifted slightly towards the over. If you can still play it at 24.5, this is the line right here. Yeah, he's just not popping up for some reason. I don't know why he's not listed on props.cash. Oh, your birthday was yesterday, Knuckles? Happy belated, man. What's going on, ATM? All right, so for this Eddie, I mean, college basketball, especially March Madness, like those minutes are crazy. I mean, unless it's like a championship game or the game to get to the Final Four or to the championship game. I think if a game is in hand, they're not like letting their starters run out there any longer than they have to. So college basketball is like really iffy right now. For him to get you 26 points, he's done it in 5 straight games, or 4 out of 5. He needs 25 to push, 26 to go over. I just honestly don't like the odds. The odds just don't look good at 25.5. And now we're getting it at 25. It still doesn't look that good. You could take a shot on it because 25 is still a push for you. And at 24.5, he was projected with better odds. So he needs 25 to go over 24.5. If he just landed on 25 and didn't score another point, it's not the worst thing in the world. But it's possible, 26 is in range. So I don't mind that one. I wish we had better odds. I wish the odds were clearer across the board to make a better case for that. But they are what they are. They're a little muddled up right now. All right, let's look at Chet Holmgren's rebounds today. We'll go Chet Holmgren's rebounds, and then we'll go wherever's left on the board. We're just gonna knock them all out. Rebound set to 9.5 today. It's kind of a high number for him, but lately he's been crushing it. 3 out of his last 5 games, he's gotten you 11 or more. And in 4 out of his last 10, he's gotten you 11 or more. He hooked it in one game here. Head-to-head matchup with the Raptors. This is a different team, though, because Scotty Barnes, I believe, played this game. And I don't know if Siakam was out of there yet. But this is just a different team right now. I mean, the front court is not the same. Toronto's defense is giving up tons of production. Injuries continue to pile up. You know, Boucher is out. There's depth right there. There's Podol out. Barrett remains out. Barnes out. Quickly's out. They might have a hard time keeping this game close. But they also don't have very much paint presence. What centers have done versus Toronto in terms of grabbing rebounds, you have Sabonis got you 17, 10 for Wiseman, 23 for Turner. Wow, these are some big numbers. Nurk, there's Jonas. Then you got guys like Alex Lynn, who is not a full-time starter. Wendell Carter, who is a starter but doesn't play full minutes. He doesn't usually play over 26, 27 minutes in a lot of these games. There's Mo Wagner, who's a reserve. There's another low game for Wendell Carter Jr. And, you know, it's hard to look at these numbers that don't hit because a lot of them aren't full-time starters. Like Wiseman is not a starter. Duop Reese, come on, man. But look at the starters numbers, and they're just big. 14, 17, 23. It's in play. The odds don't really like it right now on FanDuel, but DraftKings sees it slightly, I would say slightly better, but they're almost identical odds. Caesars has it a slightly better line. BetMGM is undecided, and PointsBet is undecided. So at 9.5, he needs 10 to get over. I don't know about this one. His points were popping earlier today at 16.5. Now, his projections look strong on points. He is projected to get you 10 rebounds today. So at 9.7, you would just round up. All right. Odds across the board like the over on his points. Ooh, well, that's 17.5. Okay. BetMGM does not like the over at 17.5, but at 16.5, you're getting some pretty good odds here. I don't know, man. This might be a day where we don't get a lot of good odds, to be honest with you, with the March Madness tournament going on. I feel like NBA is taking a back seat. We'll see if we can find some good value, though. Let's talk about who do we have left, or who do we have next? Let's talk about AD, man. I have not looked at any of his lines today. All I know is that there is absolutely zero resistance in the paint for him. You got guys like Paul Reed and Mo Bamba. Like, come on, man. He should absolutely destroy this team. He should honestly pull down 16 rebounds tonight. I wouldn't be surprised if he got you 20. $13.5 is his line, or 14.5? Where are we seeing it on PrizePicks? 13.5. This is probably going to get bumped up. DraftKings loves it. Caesars loves it. PointsBet loves it. FanDuel likes it. BetMGM not so much at 14.5. Man, the odds still aren't terrible. I wouldn't play it at 14.5, but minus 110 is not. It's not a huge under. His projection is for 12. That's way too low. Unless he gets hurt, or unless he doesn't finish the game because they're up by 30 or some weird circumstance like that, he should eat. If you want to take a look at what AD has done, or excuse me, what centers have done against the 76ers, let's take a look at Nurkic grabbing you 14. Let's take a look at Eubanks getting you 4. That's 18 between those two centers in Phoenix. Bol got you 3. Bam got you 13. 11 for Nick Richards, 7 for Lopez, who honestly is not that good of a rebounder. Anytime you have a starting center who has rebound props under 5, that tells you everything. And he goes over his line. 10 for Hartenstein, who splits time with Achua. Jonas gets you 10. 10 for Claxton. I mean, you're seeing centers just absolutely eat against the 76ers. And none of those guys, none of them are as talented and have as much skill set as Anthony Davis. Not even Bam. So I think he eats. I think 14.5 is well in play, or 13.5 is well in play. Once it gets bumped up to 14 or 14.5, you have a decision to make. But this one, to me, doesn't feel like a lot of thought needs to go into. He's just in a really good spot. I like that one. Let's see what else we got. Anybody in the same game? No. Let's talk about Curry. Let's talk about Curry's points, because I had it up on the board already, but then it was asked about in the chat. So looks like I'm not the only one that's looking at his points today. Set to 27.5. FanDuel has it even on both sides, as does DraftKings and PointsBet. BetMGM likes the over, and Caesars does also like the over, but not by a ton. He is only projected for 22. Listen, we talk about this stuff all the time when the projections don't align, and that's okay. That's okay. We all know what Curry is capable of. He, honestly, in my opinion, has not been shooting all that well over his last 5 games. Now, he actually did go over his line here because his prop was 26.5 against New York. So he did go over. But because today the line is 27.5, it's going to show that he has not gone over. But these scoring outputs of 15 and 14 and fucking 4 and 18, like this is bad. And that's not the kind of player he is. This is a up-tempo matchup, a pace-up game for the Warriors against the Pacers. He's destroyed them 2 out of the last 3 games. This season, 1 game went for 40+. They are bottom of the league, almost dead last in the league at points allowed per game. Curry's been sleeping a little bit, and I think a lot of people are expecting him to have a I don't even want to call it like a breakout game, but you know, one of those kind of games where he goes out there and shoots lights out. I think it's in play. I like it at 27.5. Home numbers for Curry, not all that great, to be honest with you, especially over the last 5. But this is exactly what you want to see, and this is what's keeping his numbers suppressed a little bit. If he had gone 3 in a row with 30+, his numbers would be at 29.5 today. So you kind of like the fact that this is ugly, because that's what's keeping this within a reasonable line. I like it. All right. I mean, the only player I couldn't find was this Yaxel Lindenborg. He's just not popping up on props.cash for some weird ass reason. I don't know why. But we like the over on AD. Chet's the one that I'm a little hesitant on, just because the matchup is there. The matchup is there for sure. He's just kind of been playing over his head a little bit last few games, so maybe there's some regression due. I'm gonna say under on Chet for now, but let's screenshot these, and then we'll throw them in the cord, and then we'll move on to another round of player props. Let's clear out the screen and let's start it up again. Let's see. Let's see. I saw something. Okay, where do we leave off? Paris, Siakam rebounds and assists. Cunningham points. Let's look at Siakam rebounds and assists at 11.5. You like the over on that one? And then let's look at Cunningham. Cunningham got bumped up to 21, but for a while it was at 20.5, which was a really good line. Austin Reeves over rebounds and assists at 9.5. I like it when it's under 10. I love those lines. Let's see what else. Let's see. Klay Thompson over PRA. What's his PRA at? 21.5. 20 got bumped up to 22.5. All right. I just wanted to make sure I got everybody's props before I went back up, because I know a lot of you are giving me multiple player props, but I cannot fill out a board with just your player props. So I just want to make sure I get everybody else's in there before I like add a second one from your list. So let's take a look at Shai's points. They're at 30. That's interesting. Then they were at like at 32.5, 33.5 the other game. Maybe 34. I don't know. I thought I saw a little higher than 30. Let's see. Trey Jones. I feel like I missed another. Oh, okay. Knuckles. Taylor Fritz under 10.5 aces. We're starting to get some tennis props. I put one on the cheat sheet yesterday. It hit. Total games went under. Then I put another total game tennis prop today. Now we're going to look at Taylor Fritz under 10.5 aces. And here we go. We got quite the list of players here. We got Siakam, Cade, Austin Reeves, Klay Thompson, Shai, Taylor Fritz. What kind of a starting five would that be? You'd have Siakam at the 5. That'd be a small lineup, right? Siakam at 5. Who would run 4? Klay, Reeves at the 3, and then you got Cade at 2. That backcourt would be legit. The front court would be garbage. That'd be an interesting game to watch. These 5 play on the same team. All right, let's go to props.cash. Let's start breaking these down. So we're in the Indiana Golden State game. Let's take a look at Siakam's rebounds and assists. And I think they're at, what, 11.5? Yeah. So 11.5 is the number on PrizePicks. That is what we're seeing on FanDuel. Everywhere has it the same. PointsBet is giving you the greater odds towards the over, while BetMGM and DraftKings like it slightly to the under. FanDuel really likes the over at minus 128 with 0 juice to the under. And then Caesars is kind of undecided on this one. Taking a look at his rebounds and assists, he is projected for 13. So that's a good start. 5 straight games of going over this line. So there were quite a few games where he absolutely shattered his RA. His RA has not always been 11.5. I'm sure in a couple of these games, it may have been 9.5 or 10.5. So he has gone over by a bit. Now, as this creeps up, it looks like he's barely getting over. But it's going over anyway. Doesn't matter how much, he's still getting you to over. Last 5 looked better than the first 5 of this 10-game log. He went over 1 game in the first 5 and then proceeded to go 5-0 over the next 5 games against OKC, Chicago, Brooklyn. Those are some pretty decent teams in terms of front court. You got Oklahoma City, who they're not a pushover. Chicago has 2 bigs in the front court. They can run big. Brooklyn is a little stingy. Cleveland is also they're missing one of their bigs, but I mean, still, these aren't like bullshit teams they're playing. And he's performing pretty well. So you got good 5-game logs, not so great 10, but good 5s. Head-to-head matchup with the Warriors. He's gone over this 1 game this season and didn't get it in the last game. You got good projections. You got decent odds, and not great, but you know, they're not terrible. We've talked ourselves into playing worse odds, I'm sure. Siakam is considered a power forward. So power forwards versus the Warriors over the last week or so, you have Aldama got you 9 rebounds, 9 for Achua, 7 for Washington, 7 for Sohan, 14 for Wembanyama, another 7 for Jay Crowder, or 6 for Jay Crowder, and 10 for Olynyk. These guys are not prolific rebounders, and they're having strong ass games against the Warriors. In terms of assists, I mean, they are allowing lots of distribution from the 4. Triple J goes over, Aldama goes over, LaRavia all go, same game, same team. They all go over. Memphis went over as a team. Ruby goes over. Sohan had 7 assists and 7 rebounds in that game. You need something like that from Siakam. You need 7 and 7. That'll get it done for you today. It's promising to see these types of numbers from starters. Wemby only got you 3 assists, but didn't he get you 14 rebounds? He got it on rebounds alone. It looks good for Siakam against the Warriors, who on paper don't grade out terrible. Like, these numbers aren't terrible numbers, but these game logs and this production from this group of players says that they are giving up more than what those numbers are saying. So I think his RA is in play. All right. So we go from Pascal Siakam to, we're going to talk about Shea. Points at 30 and a half. So past 3 games against the Raptors have not been good. This game, last game, this season, he got you 23. Now, this game could have been an ass whooping, and he just didn't have to play in the 4th quarter. Can he get you 31 points? Yes. Will he have to? Probably not. Is it possible? Yes. Is it probable? I don't know. It is good that they're on the road, since I feel the Raptors will probably play better at home. So maybe this game stays competitive. We've seen them get the shit kicked out of them and games end by 3rd quarter. So that is kind of what scares me on taking such a high point number. But he's gone over it in 2 out of his last 5. He's gone over it in 6 of his last 10. He is projected today for 28 points, which honestly doesn't sound like a bad projection. 28 points is a lot of points. He just may not need to be on the floor that long to score 31. In terms of his odds on this particular line, FanDuel likes the over slightly. DraftKings and PointsBet see it same, and Caesars sees it at -127, and BetMGM. So yeah, the odds are in favor of the over, but you're not seeing, like, we have not yet seen like maybe one player prop where the odds were heavily in favor of the over. We're getting a lot of this muddy water here. So I play lightly on this one. If you were going to run this in a few slips, run it in flex. All right, let's talk about Cade Cunningham's points, because that one got bumped up to 21 from 20.5. But we'll still take a look at it because it will get bumped up again according to these lines. FanDuel, DraftKings, Caesars, BetMGM, PointsBet all have it at 21.5. And the odds are not terrible. Caesars has the over on 21.5. But at 21, this is going to give you slightly better odds to the over. He is projected for about 22 points, so it still gets you the over. So even with the bump, it's not the end of the world. Now, over his last 5 games, he's only gone over this twice at 20.5. At 21.5, he's gone over it twice. When this gets bumped up to 22, then it's looking a little less likely because it gets tighter and tighter. 3 straight games of going under. This matchup with the Boston Celtics on paper is not a good one. But Cade Cunningham, who did not play last game, does have 1 game under his belt versus Boston where he went off. And again, if you missed the intro to the stream, fully anticipate more than 1 Boston Celtics sitting tonight. Drew Holiday's already been rolled out. You got the whole goddamn starting 5 on the injury report. Tatum, Brown, Porzingis, Horford. The only ones not on there are Derek White and that was it. That was it, Derek. That was it. So it's possible we see Tatum sit or Brown sit or Porzingis sit, which would help keep the game slightly closer. And this is a home game for the Pistons. So Cade can definitely score 21 points in that environment. 20.5 was the best line. If you can still find it at 20.5, that's what you want to play. 21.5 is playable though. All right, let's talk about Austin Reeves, and then we'll talk about we should have talked about Klay Thompson when we were talking about Siakam. But let's talk about Austin Reeves. Over his 9.5 rebounds and assists today, he is projected for just 9. On the books, he is favored on PointsBet and BetMGM at -125 to the over. Caesars sees it similarly. Say that 5 times fast. Caesars sees it similarly at -121. DraftKings and FanDuel have different numbers, but they're undecided in terms of that over under. That's just even on both sides. Projected again for 9 rebounds and assists. You take a look at his game logs here over his last 10 games. He's averaging 11. Over his last 5 games, he's averaging 10. He has an 80% hit rate in both of those game frames. Numbers against Philadelphia. It's been a long time since they played. It's been over 3 months. 4 months. Over 4 months. A lot of shit happens in 4 months. Neither of these teams are the same. All right. I think that one's in play as well. You're getting positive odds. You wish the projections were a bit higher, but they're not too far off from the over. Austin Reeves at home. How does this look? It's still an 80% hit rate over his last 10, but it's a 60% hit rate over his last 5. So it does come down a little bit, but he's still getting you 3 games with double-digit rebounds and assists. So it's in play. It's definitely in play. I like it. But you notice how these odds, every play that we're looking at, they're all kind of like in the same range. There's no like heavy favorites here. I'm going to show you D'Angelo Russell's first half PRA. I don't know if it's still at 13.5, but I expected it to get bumped up because we were getting it at 14.5. And PrizePicks was giving it to you at 13.5. So yeah, that couldn't last forever. But what I liked about this one is his numbers at home over his last 3 games. Holy shit. So over his last 3 home games, is this right? Over his last 3 home games, oh my God, 3 out of the last 5 games, he's gone over this with massive numbers. You do see a bit of a drop off in the second half, but at 13.5, I just thought this was way too low for him. You can play it at 14, at 14 and a half. I don't know. It gets a little like, ugh. I just hate playing bumps personally. If you can catch it at the lowest line, sometimes you're just going to miss out on a good play. It's not the end of the world. There'll be more plays. But I thought this was in a good spot today. All right, let's move on to who's left on this list of props. Klay Thompson. How could I forget Klay Thompson? The unforgettable Klay Thompson. Mr. Flash. So Klay Thompson today set the 21.5 PRA. That was the line it opened up at. But since then, it's moved to 22.5. BetMGM likes this at 22.5, minus 135 to the over, but minus 120 to the under. Those are weird odds. The other two books like the under more. He is projected for 21 on the dot today. This is a fast-paced game for Klay Thompson. We already talked about that when we were talking about Curry. Last 5 games, he has gone over this line in 4. Head-to-head matchup with them, we got to go back to 2022. That's irrelevant. I feel like Steph Curry gave Klay Thompson his superpowers these last 10 games. They're like they switch roles. Like Klay's playing like Curry, Curry's playing like Klay. Hopefully, they can both play well tonight. If you want to take the over on this one, because we already talked about the over on Curry's points, so we definitely don't want to see Curry do all the scoring and nobody else do shit, because if you're interested in Klay or even Kuminga or Podziemski, you need more of a balanced effort from the team. But it's hard to look at these numbers and not like what you see. At 21.5, it looked better, but it doesn't impact his game logs because he's gone over by so many anyway. That extra bump doesn't really make a difference. But we've seen hooks happen. We know how difficult those hooks can be, and there's a reason that they bump it when they bump it, because the books are smart. If you want to play at 22.5, you can. It's just not getting the heavy favorite that it was getting earlier today at 21. I'm telling you, man, these odds are not in our favor today. All right, so Cade, still like the over on Cade's points at 21. We do like the over on Pascal Siakam, 11.5 rebounds and assists. Reeves also looked good at that 9.5 rebounds and assists. Only one we didn't talk about was Taylor Fritz. But if you're pulling at Taylor Fritz or any tennis player prop from an optimizer and you're paying attention to the books, multiple sports books would tell you pretty much everything you need to know without looking at matches and sets and all that stuff. There's a reason why it's unanimously favored to go over or under. So you pay attention to those things. You pay attention to books like Pinnacle, who has a player prop at a certain line, the odds. Pay attention to those things, and that'll tell you pretty much everything you need to know for certain plays, especially if you don't have access to their game logs or any of the previous games. That's one way you can kind of get around that. All right, let's see what we got here. Robert Higgins, what is going on? Good morning, JR. What is up? Links, what's good? What is good? What I miss? Carrie, what's going on? Missed a lot. I missed a lot. Let's see here. Going on. 3rd round of player props here. Let's see. I don't think I took one from JR yet. DeAndre Ayton under 31.5 PRA. He finally came back down to earth. He was on a monster run. Augustus Marcelionis over 9 rebounds and assists. That is a long ass name. I want to see how they fit that on the back of the jersey. They got to make the font smaller. Jason Tatum under PRA and Simons under points. Now, I'm not going to lie. I was interested in Jason Tatum's I was interested in Jason Tatum's first half PRA because what we talked about last game almost happened. We talked about how he, in the second half, he will disappear. We've talked about how if the Celtics are in a comfortable lead, he is not the same player. And we saw that shit happen the last game. He barely squeaked over his PRA. He had a completely different game in the second half. And he scored like 30 PRA in the first half and scored like 18 or something like that in the second half. And so when I look at Jason Tatum's numbers now, I start to look at his first half PRA because his first half numbers are very good. And then you see this nasty drop off in the second half. So taking the under on his full game PRA makes sense because he doesn't put together the full game very often. The total numbers look great, but when you break it down, it's not consistent. So we could take a look at the under on his PRA. Simons under points. Boy, what did he end the game with last game? It was set to 23.5, 14. Ooh. Clippers are no joke. Let's see. I want to make sure I don't miss some of the new questions in here. Robert, did I get your question already, Robert? Or no? No. Zion, 25 points over. Without Brandon Ingram. So Brandon Ingram has the knee bruise. He's out. I don't know how long he's out for. So we can take a look at Zion's points. It's funny that his PRA is not a little higher. I know it's not a great matchup versus Miami, but maybe we see more uses for CJ McCollum, who has been really disappointing last couple of weeks. Boo booey. Let's see. Golden over 16.5 points. Let's throw another college. Is that 6 or 5? That's 5. All right. Oh, this game starts in 20 minutes. Shit. All right. Let's go to props.cash. Let's do that game first. That game starts in 20 minutes. Forget that these March Madness games, they're around the clock. They're not like at one set time. There's like 100 games going on today. All right, so wow, 80% hit rate for this guy. He's gone over in 8 out of his last 10. He's gone over in 4 out of his last 5. He's averaging 19 to 20 points per game. Numbers against the numbers against Northwestern. It's Northwestern, right? NW. No games to look at. He's only projected for 15 points, which is really low. That's a low drop. That's a low number off his line. Now let's see what some of these odds say. Caesars likes it at -135 to the over with little juice to the under. Consensus also likes it at 120, 112. BetMGM 120, FanDuel 115. Caesars is giving you the best odds in terms of the over, but a lot of these books, BetMGM, I mean, these odds aren't bad. He's playing 28 minutes per game. With college basketball is a 40-minute game, so he's playing damn near, I don't know, what is that, 75% of the minutes. 11 shots per game. Yeah, you could take a shot on this. I wish we were getting a better projection. That is nasty. That is nasty. What about his rebounds? I mean, you could definitely take a shot on his points, because I'm very positive in a lot of these games where he got you 20 points. He wasn't favored to go over, or he wasn't favored to go over by that many points. So worth a stab for sure. I was not seeing the best lines today in college basketball. When I was doing the research early this morning, I was not seeing a ton that I liked. I was a little surprised, but sometimes the books are just that good. Sometimes the lines are just that good, and you can't do anything about it. Rebounds and assists for Marshall Leonis. Now on PrizePicks, you're seeing this at 9. It's got bumped up from 8.5 to 9. No odds to the under at 8.5, but at 9, you can see he's projected for about 10. So he's still going over this line. If we bump it up to 9, it doesn't move the needle at all with these game logs. He's still giving you the over. A lot of these teams haven't played yet. You know, a lot of these teams haven't played each other yet. So you're seeing the team for the first time. So you're not going to have a whole lot of information going like the head-to-head. Last 5 games have been pretty good. 100% hit rate. Yeah, I think this is in play. At 8.5, you were getting really great odds for the over. And at 9, it's probably going to drop down a little bit. Well, it will drop down a little bit, but I don't think it'll drop down. The odds will drop down to the point where it's completely out of play. And I think 9 is still in play. He just needs 10. He just needs 10 to get the over. He's gotten you 10 or more in 5 straight, 7 out of the last 10. So we got Ayton under, Simons under, Tatum under, and Zion over. So let's look at Tatum's. Let's look at Jason Tatum under his PRA at 41.5. This is going to get bumped down. He might even get ruled out today, but this is going to get bumped down. Actually, what you do want to, what you would love to happen is you would love to see somebody get ruled out like Brown or Porzingis, and then you would see Jason Tatum's lines get bumped up to like 43.5. And then you can really take the under on those. But he's gone over this particular line in 3 out of 5, and he's gone over it in 6 out of 10. So he's giving you a 60% hit rate, no matter how you look at this. Numbers against the Pistons have been really good. He's gone over in 4 straight, including 1 game this year where he got you 48. He is projected for 38, which is honestly sounds about right. When we take a look at his first half PRA, he is 5 for 5. Excuse me. He is 1 for 1 this year against the Pistons. But over his last 10 games, first half PRA, 5 for 5. Like, that's what I was saying earlier today. His first half is very strong, 100% hit rate and 70% hit rate over his last 10. But when we look at his second half, what the fuck? So you take the under on his full game, unless he gets you a full game's worth of production in 2 quarters with output like this in the second half, it's very difficult for me to believe that he can go over full game PRA unless he just has some crazy ass first half. I mean, if he only got you 8 in the second half, that means he needs to score. He needs to get you 33. No, he needs to get you 40 he needs to get you 34 PRA in the first half here. That's not going to happen very often. Full game under, for a first half over. That's kind of how I would play that. Projections don't look good for the over. Odds also, just a lot of murk. Just a lot of murk. Even odds. What the hell is that? It's at 42.5. Look, damn near even odds. Don't know what to do with this one. Barely over. Barely over. There's so much uncertainty with the Celtics injury report. These odds are just like, whatever. All right. So yeah, we like the over on that one, or like the under on that one. We like the over first half. Well, at least I like the over on first half. All right, let's go to Portland. Let's take a look at two Trailblazers. Let's talk about DeAndre Ayton under 31.5 PRA. He was on a roaring roll, having gone over in 4 straight, 5 out of his last 6, and then runs into the Clippers and gets clipped. He has done terribly against the Clippers. 2 games this season, he's averaging 16.5. Projection today for Ayton is 32. So the projection is in favor of the over. The odds do not like the over. We got similar odds on BetMGM and DraftKings, or identical odds, and then you have the under favored on Caesars. PointsBet is giving you the more favorable odds at 115 to both sides, but even then, that's not a great odd. So this one does look in play. That's nasty. Let's look at Simons under points at 23.5. Is it 22.5? 22.5. Okay, so at 22.5, he's projected for 22, so he's projected for a hook. At 22.5, FanDuel likes the under. PointsBet likes the under. DraftKings loved it at 21.5, as did Caesars, as did BetMGM. So 21.5 was where you want it. This actually might get bumped down. I don't see why it would be bumping up. Were people taking, like, was that a popular play on PrizePicks at 21.5? I don't see it. It's not on there as a popular play. It's possible this one gets bumped down to 21.5 or 21. We'll see. But at 22.5, 2 out of the last 5 games, and then over his last 10, he's gone over. His last 10 were strong, right? His last 10 were strong. I think we're still looking at Ayton's numbers in that other screenshot. So over his last 10 games, he's gone over this. That Clipper game really messed him up. 3 out of his last 5. Boston and Clippers, they really did a number on him. And then his numbers against LA. 2 out of his last 5, yeah. So this one does make sense to take the under, to be honest with you. You're getting the odds, you're getting the game logs, you're getting the projections. The only reservation I have with Anthony Simons is that he takes like 30 shots a game. So even if he just has a terrible game, even if the Clips are just blowing these dudes out, like, the volume is going to be there for him in a lot of these games. So if he's chucking 24 times a game, you know, he gets semi-hot from 3 or something like that. It could be one of those dumb games where they get beat, but he goes over points. I hate games like that. But that's like my only reservation with him, because he's a volume shooter. Unless he plays the Clippers. But he could also go out there and do that. 24, 23. All right. Zion, last play on this block of player props. So no Ingram for Zion Williamson today. He's at 25.5. Numbers against the Heat. He has one game where he got you 23. We'll take a look at the sample size without Ingram this year. But last 10 game logs don't look bad, but all that production came in the same little block of games. It's not consistent. So 24 and then 28 over his last 5 games. His projection is for 27 today, which is what you want. And then the odds do not like the over very much. Now, when we take a look at Brandon Ingram and what that looks like with him being out, over his last 5 games played, or over his last 4 games played this year without Ingram, he has gone over just 1 time. And then just over his last 10 games total, we do got to go back to last season or a couple seasons ago. It'll include all those games. Doesn't really perform all that well without Brandon Ingram. Maybe McCollum's numbers look better. McCollum's numbers, 3 out of his last 10, 1 out of his last 5. But if we subtract Brandon Ingram and see what that looks like then, 4 out of his last 5 games played without Brandon Ingram all this season, McCollum has gone over. And then over his last 10 games, McCollum is has an 80% hit rate in his last 10 games played without Brandon Ingram. So if you don't like what you see with Zion's points, maybe you look to take McCollum's points. Doesn't play well against Miami without Brandon Ingram, but every game is different. Every season is different. Those game logs are drastically different with Ingram in. So you got an option there. If you didn't like Zion, you can look to CJ. All right. Under Ayton, over Augustus, under Tatum, or if you want to go over first half PRA, maybe leverage the 2, you can try that. Simon's under points. Zion, just the usage should be there against a tough Miami team. But again, if you didn't like that, then don't play Zion and just play CJ. And then the over on Golden. His projections weren't good on this one, but the game logs were fantastic. 5 straight games of 20+ points. All right. Round 3 is in the books. Damn, we got a lot done. All right, let's see. What's going on, Shy? Shy had a good slip yesterday. He posted it in the Discord. Did you go 6 for 6 or 5 for 5? I couldn't remember, but I felt like it was a clean sweep for you. Divine says Anthony Simons will have 22. Over 22. Simon's attempts. That could be another way to go. Are field goal attempts up on the board yet? Am I blind? Yeah, I don't see him. I don't see him. Posture Fixer, what's going on? I don't think I've seen you in the chat before. Appreciate you being here. Wimby over 4.5 blocks. Collins is out, and their backup center and the Grizzlies. Collins is out, and the backup center is out. Grizzlies allow most blocks to opposing centers. I don't know why I thought you were talking about John Collins at first. I got so confused when you said Grizzlies. I'm like, wait, what? Zach Collins? Gotcha. Did it again. Block shots. Let's take a look at it. Let's see. I wish we could look up the field goal attempts. It's just not up on as a category yet, but there is some good value in those field goal attempts. If you do need to research them a little bit, but the averages are pretty consistent. When you look at the game logs, those averages are pretty consistent. Sometimes the lines are just way too low on those field goal attempts. Fantasy points. Let's take a look and see if there's anything that's standing out in terms of fantasy points. We obviously don't want to play any bumps. Basically, anything with a 0.0 is a bump. That's already been moved up. So I don't want to look at those right off the bat. God, if this was like 16.5, I would be all over it. But 18.5 is a tough matchup for Agbaji. Agbaji did come through for us the other day. We talked about Agbaji going over his points on the stream on Wednesday, and we talked about Josh Giddey going over his assists. He got that done in the first quarter, so Agbaji did come through on the points. I saw a Trey Jones prop up in here. I saw a Trey Jones prop up in this bitch. Where did I see that? Oh, see, I missed this one. I missed Derek White, 20 points. Okay, let's look at that one for Robert. Derek White. Where did I see a Trey Jones prop? There it is by Paris. Trey Jones over PRA. I'm going to put his fantasy points on the board. We'll look at his PRA, but I'm interested in his fantasy points. And that Derek White. Yeah, Celtics are a mess right now. You're not going to get a Derek White prop on a board on PrizePicks until something gets confirmed in Boston. If you can find a Derek White prop anywhere else, I would lock in an over right now. Be prepared for him to sit. But I feel like once we get word that anybody sits in Boston, his lines are going to move. So if you can find a good line for him now, the best line you're going to find, it's going to get bumped up. Any other fantasy score that is appealing to us? Not really. No, I'm not really feeling any of these. Shot. Okay, you went 5 for 6, but ended up taking a rebound from a oh. Those stat corrections piss me off. When they happen after the game's finished, it's like, can y'all not fucking count during the game? Why do y'all need to like make the adjustments after the game? Like, it's so shady to me. I hate that shit. Giddey over on Trey's. Let's see. Is he at 0.5? Yeah, you'll need to play that on Underdog, I'm sure. Obviously, Hard Rock has it, but the best lines are not always on PrizePicks. If you've never played on any other player prop, pick'em site, whatever before, you're doing yourself a disservice because you're really missing out on just great lines everywhere else. PrizePicks does not have the best lines. It just don't. Giddey's on Underdog at 0.75. They're nerfing his threes for a reason, because it's probably heavily favored to go over. Right now, also on Underdog, there is a Shea free square. Well, there is a SGA 0.5 points square. It expires at 3:30 Eastern time, 4:30 Eastern time. If you are not on Underdog, sign up, use my promo code, and then play the shit out of that Shea square. I will be playing that. All right. What else? The Liga says, let's review the We Don't Trust You community play at the end of the stream when you get a chance to see if we should rock with it or fade it. We don't trust you? like a new segment on the stream, like one of the more popular plays, like we don't trust that play. We can do that at some point for sure. All right, let's look up these two Spurs plays. So let's head over to props.cash. Well, I'll take a few more player props if y'all have them. So we initially were going to look at Trey Jones PRA, but I pulled up his fantasy score because fantasy score has been pretty good. Typically, when a player goes over PRA, if they're able to keep the turnovers down, they'll go over fantasy score. So when you look at Trey Jones' game log there, he's been playing well as of late. So 4 straight games of going over his PRA. If I switch it back to PrizePicks, just to show you this, the same 4 games he goes over PRA, he's going over fantasy. Like they're heavily correlated. It's very difficult to not go over one and go over the other. You have to turn the ball all over a shit ton. But his PRA is in play at 21.5. The matchup against Memphis is not a terrible matchup. They are a much better defensive team when they have Triple J and Bane in the lineup. Like that's a completely different lineup. But it doesn't make them a top team in the NBA. And I think Besman Dane is doubtful today. So again, the Memphis Grizzlies are a mess right now. San Antonio can take advantage of this for sure. He is projected for 27 PRA. Seems a little high. Game logs do say that he can get it, but you don't need 27. You need 22, and that's it. Head-to-head versus Memphis. Last 3 games have not been good. These are this last season. This season, usage was way off in these games. Another thing that goes into another thing that goes into fantasy points are steals and blocks. So against Memphis, you can see that he's averaging 1.3 steals and blocks. But over his last 10 games, let's look at his last 5 games. In those games where he's getting you over fantasy points, he's getting you 3 steals in 2 of those 5 games. So you can't expect 3 steals from a player every single game. But the game against Houston, he got 3 steals. He had 42 fantasy points. You can literally just take those 9 points away and he still goes over fantasy points. He didn't need the 3 steals there. Against Brooklyn, he had 34 fantasy points. He's basically giving you 1 steal per game. So take away 6 points and that gives you 28 fantasy points. So he's going over fantasy points with and without steals, which is great because you don't want a player that's so reliant on blocks and steals, and in the event he doesn't get them, then your play is sunk. So he's getting it done. I think that's a good play, the PRA, and I also think his fantasy score is in play. Let's take a look at Wembanyama's blocks at 4.5. Talk about fantasy score. If you feel very confident that he goes over his blocks today and he gets you 5 or more, that's 15 points. 15 points from blocks. He's done it in back-to-back games. Games against the Grizz, he's gone over this in 1. Both games are this season, 1-1. So Zach Collins is he out? Zach Collins is I'm showing questionable, but it's possible that that's been changed to out. But in games played without Zach Collins, he's averaging 3.4 blocks in those games. Past 2 games, this past game was against the Dallas Mavericks. No Zach Collins, 6 blocks. With Zach Collins, a bit better, but The upside for him is always there. 54 fantasy points for Wembanyama is a lot of fantasy points. It's not a low number. He does need blocks and steals to go over that. He can't just do it. He's not going to give you 50 points. But if he gets you 25 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, and 5 blocks, I mean, you're over. You're over that. But you do need a big performance like that from him. He can't just get it done on blocks and or points and rebounds. Yeah, he'll give you 30, but a lot of these games will give you under 20. So it's not like he's always going out there giving you 35 points. His rebounds, a bit more consistent, but he has to absolutely give you at least 10 in order to go over that fantasy score. But his blocks are in play. They're always in play. His blocks and steals are always in play. Oh, let's see. Let's see. Siakam rebounds. Oh, got you. I got you. All right. Let's take a look at Siakam's rebounds, and then we might just dip out, ladies and gentlemen. 11:22. We've been live for about an hour and 20 minutes. I have not once asked to like. Hit that like button on your way in or hit it on your way out. Appreciate the support. Siakam rebounds. We already talked about Siakam's rebounds and assists, so we definitely like those against the Golden State Warriors. Now we're going to take a look at his rebounds today. I'm seeing 8.5 on props.cash, and I think that's reflective of FanDuel, but they're at 8 right now on PrizePicks. So let's bring it down and let's take a look at this. He's projected for 9 rebounds. He is at 7.5. I mean, 150 on DraftKings, 133 on Caesars, 150 on BetMGM. Siakam at 8 rebounds. When you're getting minus 150 odds for an over, that's not telling you that the player is just going to get the next number. If it's at 7.5, those odds are not saying they'll get you 8. Those odds are saying they'll get you 9 or more. Like, that is a huge over. So at 8, he needs 9. Those previous odds reflect 9. He's projected for 9, and he's averaging 10 in his last 5. All that makes sense to me. If you want to take a stab at his rebounds at 8, I think they're still in play. If you can find them anywhere else, if you have access to a book at 7.5, play it there first, then play it on a pick'em site. All right. I think it's going to do it. Ladies and gentlemen, an hour and 25 minutes on the stream. We went over, let me screenshot these plays. Let me add in, I got the Siakam in there. Got the Siakam in there. All right. If you missed the beginning of the stream, man, I don't even know if my plays are still available. I mean, by this time, so many lines have bumped. We know how that works. D'Angelo Russell is still there at 13.5. If you missed the first portion of the stream, I did share 2 plays that I like. I took one from my cheat sheet, or I took one from the Discord where I used it as a play of the day, and the other one was a new addition. So Wyatt Johnson over 2.5 shots on the goal on underdog, and I did list D'Angelo Russell over 13.5 first half PRA as a play of the day in the Discord. It's still there at 13.5. I still think it's going to get bumped up to 14 at some point. We already looked at it. I already showed you what he's doing in the first half. So, and you can see it there on the screen as well, but it's still at 13.5. I like it at 13.5. So those are the two plays that we talked about earlier in the stream. I think I can get all these in there and under one screenshot. I think so. All right, boom. All right, cool. Yeah, so in full transparency, I did play the D'Angelo Russell first half over and Jason Tatum first half over in a slip. I already put that in a 2-pick. Jason Tatum, I don't know if he's still on the board at his original line. Did he get bumped down? He may have gotten bumped down. I may have played the higher line. Let's see here. Oh no, it's been at 21. So maybe it was at 20.5 earlier, but I did play it at 21 on the dot. Okay. So I played D'Angelo Russell and Jason Tatum in a 2-pick. So I do like that. But that's going to do it, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't have any other questions, let me just double check the chat real quick. Make sure I didn't miss anything. All right, looks like we're all good. Yeah. Happy Friday, everybody. Make sure you take advantage of your protected slip today. I'll post mine over in the Discord. I'll post a couple other slips as well. One on Underdog, at least one on Underdog, and a few on PrizePicks. And if I can get to a hot streak slip today, then I'll post that as well. But appreciate y'all being here. The late start and all. Appreciate y'all showing up and hanging out with me for an hour or so, going over some player props. I will be back tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. Hopefully, I don't fuck up the time on that one. It's already set to 9:30. No time changes. So it's 9:30 a.m. Central Time. East Coast, that's 10:30. West Coast, that is 7:30. Think so. If you're in Hawaii, that's the day before. But I'll be back tomorrow. We'll talk player props. Hopefully we got some profit to talk about. Hopefully we got some winning slips to celebrate in the live stream tomorrow. If you lasted this long, consider subbing up to the channel. It means a ton. Hit the like button. That's another way you can support the channel. Share it with somebody you know. That's another way you can support the channel. As I always say, I wish you the best of luck. I hope all of your player props respect the damn coin. We'll be back tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. with another Player Prop Talk live stream. Until that live stream, Chavez is out.